Hey, so I wanted to talk a little bit about my reading list for 2023. My biggest goal in 2023 is to read more, so I have actually spent a bunch of my Christmas money getting a big pile of books that have been on my list for a long time. So let's talk about the kind of books I put on my list. I like to read about parenting. I want some business books to help me feel more inspired and equipped for my business. Some literature and biography is something I really like to read as well. So I'm not going to talk about every book on my list, but I do want to talk about some of them. I'll be reading Simplicity Parenting, 1,000 Hours Outside, Glow Kids, Why Can't We Just Play? And I thought I would talk about this one. Why Can't We Just Play is a book that is super important to me. The author was interviewed on a podcast that I love called 1,000 Hours Outside. Ginny Yurich is really the person who encouraged me to put almost all of these books on my list, and I'm very much looking forward to some of these books. So business books, there are some classics that I've just never read, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I've just never read it. So I grabbed that. It's been a good book for me. And I wanted to talk about the one book that I have already finished, which is The Miracle Morning. And The Miracle Morning is the first book that I read this year. And I will say it's a good book, and I like the principles, and I want to do it. I haven't been able to do it yet. It does show its age a little bit, and it is very MLM-y. If you have ever watched any anti-MLM content, you'll recognize some of the techniques that are spoken against in this book. But I think if you separate it from that, just the techniques that are in this book make sense. I would love to have more clarity for my family and myself in the morning, and I think this would really do it. I also grabbed Outliers. I'm reading Blink right now, and it's totally changing my life. I think it does that for a lot of people, and I could get Outliers real cheap as well, so I grabbed that. And then these are kind of the other things. I do plan to buy Becoming Free Indeed. That just came out. I'm super looking forward to that. The Duggars were a big part of my upbringing, a big part of my life until now. The Great Gatsby, I heard John Green talk about the impact that this book has on every reader, and I haven't read this book since high school, so I wanted to grab this. I want to read something beautiful. I want it to speak to my heart for sure. Now, I have also already read Sing Down the Moon. Sing Down the Moon, which I have here somewhere. It is a book that I picked up at a library sale because it had the Newbery seal on it. Newbery, Coretta Scott King, some of these awards I always look for and pick up. I think this would be a great book to introduce your children. The reading level is very low, but this was like a very gripping book. I loved it. It would be a great book to introduce children to, the history of Native Americans in this country. And, well, obviously, anyway, I think that it's an age-appropriate introduction without sanitizing things too much, giving enough information, but not too much. Worth it. Pre-reading. I'm glad I pre-read it. I'm also going to be reading Our Jerusalem. This is a really important book to me. This was given to me in 2020. It can be a difficult to find book. It is written by Bertha Spatford Vester, who is the only surviving child of Horatio Spafford Gates, who wrote It Is Well With My Soul. If you are aware of the story of that song, it's just a really interesting book. I have a lot of other books on the list. You can see them in the PowerPoint. I would love to know, what is a book that you have read that was changing your life, changing your business, a book that you would recommend. Can be in any of these topics or none of these topics, but I would love to hear about it. Thank you so much.